Hey, Jakey, obviously the club, everyone's back together now. How have you found the past couple of months, mate, in isolation?
I've been quite enjoying it. Although I'd rather be playing and training. I've actually been really relaxed. I've found it a great time to just sit down, read, learn, do other bits and pieces that I wouldn't actually usually do. Spend time with family, call people I wouldn't usually call. So in that respect, I've really enjoyed it. But I'm getting to the stage now where I'd actually quite prefer to be back in the club.
And how do you feel about it now, mate? Obviously, the talk is that footy will resume mid-June. As a player, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a great date to work towards. I think that's definitely reasonable and definitely realistic. And I also think it's great for players to actually have an end point to it. Especially, I presume that end point's going to come this Friday with the announcement. So once we have an end point, it gives us something to work towards from a training perspective and also a mindset perspective, which has helped. That's probably the main thing I've found is that it's just you're training, but you don't actually know when you're going back, which has been difficult.
And how will the game look when we get back to round 2, given the fact, clubs have cut coaches, hasn't been any play for 6-7 weeks? Will that change the way the game is played?
No, I don't think so. I think there'll be less. I think over the coming years, as staff will dwindle down to sort of skeleton staff, I think that could potentially change the game over the long term in the next couple of years with less coaches, less meetings. Players will play a bit more freely potentially, but definitely not this year. I don't think that'll occur.
But moving forward, you think it will have an impact on the way the game's played?
Yeah, definitely. I think with less coaches, there'll be less meetings, there'll be less voices in players' heads. I think there's definitely the potential for the game to become a bit more relaxed in terms of its structure.
Could that be a positive or a negative?
It'll be a positive, I think, because it'll. Aside from the fact that there will be less people at the club, which is not great because people are losing jobs, which is a major negative. On the flip side, though, you got less people telling you what to do, and I think a lot of players will relish that because I think over the past few years there definitely has been a trend towards having a lot of voices telling you what to do, where to play, where to stand, which is positive. But the negative aspect is it's very structured, and that almost doesn't make the game look great.
Over to you, Theo.
Hey, Bull, why can't you just start that now then?
Well, I don't think it's a conscious decision for players to do that. I think that's something that it will just happen inevitably. I don't think it's something that just consciously happens.
If you think that it might be beneficial to have less coaches and less instructions, could you make the case to Nixie that you'd like to play a little bit more on instinct and see if you could tailor a program to create that?
Yeah, no, I think definitely that we're encouraged to play on instinct. That's something that's definitely encouraged at the club. However, there is also an aspect where you've got a lot of staff members, and that can potentially lead to players. For me personally, it doesn't, but for some other players, I'm just hypothetical. If there's less staff, potentially players won't have as much structure to worry about, and that could make the game look a bit more free-flowing. However, I can't say that with any certainty.
Yeah, of course. What have you been told about the next couple of weeks, mate?
We've been told that obviously players have been asked to come back into the state, who are interstate, and then we will get an indication of where we're coming back as of this Friday, as per the AFL. So particularly from the coaching staff, we've been told to prepare to mentally to come back and be ready to come back soon. That's been the main message from Nixie's, to prepare mentally. Physically, we're doing everything we can we have been doing everything we can over the last few weeks. So the mental aspect of preparing to play, preparing to train again, has been the main message from the coaches.
The miniature pre-season, as it's dubbed, I suppose, the training block that you're going to go through, are you expecting it to be relatively brutal?
I spoke to Matt Haas today, who's the head of high performance at the club, and he didn't give that indication that it's going to be particularly brutal. I think the training program we're doing at the moment is going to hold us in really good stead. So when we hit those 3 weeks, I dare say it without having spoken to any of the coaches in detail about this, that it'll be more about our structures, playing lots of match sim, if we can get everyone out there on the track, and it'll be less about the running, and it won't be sort of a pre-season as such. It'll be more an in-season program, I'd say. More match sim, more structure.
Riley doing the dishes or something, is he, mate? Oh, God. Oh, that'll do me. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, it does me every day, mate.
Jake, Will from 9 here, mate. You showed us Riley before having a bit of a dance. What's it like being living with the big man?
It's interesting. We've got the gym out the back, so the positive is that we get to, he can spot me on the bench press when I push out 170. No, 117. But he's great. I love living with Riley. We have for the past 2 years, so it's been a great experience for me. He's taught me a lot. Hopefully, I've taught him a bit as well. But he's a very funny man, very good friend of mine. So I guess if you have a chance to live with a very good friend of yours, it's a good positive.
Has he invited you to be in your book club?
I'm in the book club.
Tell us about the book club.
We had the book club last night, the inaugural book club. So we read Ego is the Enemy, and we all talked about that last night. There's about 6 or 7 of us. Fisher McCasey's very, very intelligent, loves his books, so he was insightful. Who else was in there? Lockie Gallant's also another young player who loves his reading. And then Dan Jackson was the one running it, and he's been fantastic since he's arrived. So it's a good initiative from Dan. And yeah, we just plonked ourselves down for an hour and a half, had a yarn, and yeah, discussed the book. Bit left field, but it's good.
Jake, just on a different topic, I guess with so many uncertainties this year, when games will be played, midweek games, shorter schedule, etc. Does it feel like it's a bit more wide open than usual as far as the premiership race? A lot of years it feels like there's only, maybe 4 or 5 teams that a lot of critics would dub favourites. This year it feels like it's a lot wider from our end at least. Do you kind of feel that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely the potential for teams who were not considered premiership contenders to be a chance. I think John Worsfold the other week said that he's expecting his team to be right up there based on the shorter games. You're going to see teams with a bit of leg speed potentially have an advantage because there's shorter quarters, more rotations on the bench, so you're not going to be as fatigued. So there's going to be a lot of aspects that will come into it. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And does that work in the Crows' favour, do you think? I mean, how does that sit with you at the moment?
Yeah, for me personally, I don't have an inch of speed in me, so I would prefer longer games. For some of the other guys, I think that'll definitely be an advantage for them. I think as a whole list, as the Crows, I don't know. I think there'll be some teams who'll have a massive advantage, I think, or a reasonable advantage, but I think overall it'll be relatively similar.
I'll jump in. Jake, you talked about the sort of overcoaching before and how you thought it could end up being a positive for the game and at least for you, the way you played. Do you think that view's shared by a lot of players? And if so, why do you think it got to a point where you were so overcoached?
No, I don't think we're overcoached. I think that there's a lot of, it's got to, over the last, as they've become a professional industry, that obviously more and more people have come into the club, every club. And there are a lot of voices sometimes. For me personally, it's never been an issue. I love having as many people around. You can bounce off a number of people at the club. So I don't think it's an issue too much, but there is the potential. I think if there's less people at the club, then some guys might play with a bit more freedom. Like I said, that's very much a guessing game. They could not eventuate like that. I don't know.
The running around and training with just 1 or 2 other blokes, obviously it's a bit of a scrapper and a body-on-body type player like yourself, how have you been keeping the physical aspect of your game in check? I think I read somewhere that you were getting in brawls with Daniel Talia in some training, but what have you been doing?
Yeah, Dan and I have been going down to the park on a Saturday and trying to do a bit more contest stuff, just me and him. Obviously, it's just the two of us, so it's a bit difficult. He's just sort of been essentially wrestling me. And he's a big boy, so I struggle there. But other than that, it's been quite difficult. And that's something that will be the main focus, I think, over the 3 weeks, along, like I said, with match sim. The other aspect will be getting body contact, because that's something we haven't been able to do. So no one's really been able to do it. So that 3-week block will be pretty imperative to getting that body contact again.
What can the two of you do? Do you just sort of, one has the football and the other one tries to get it off him? Is it some real schoolyard type stuff?
Yeah, it's pretty basic stuff. I think we had one last week. He put a ball behind me, and then I had to stop him getting that ball for 15, 20 seconds. So stuff like that. Daniel's quite good at making that stuff up. I just sort of say yes or no to it and go along with it. But yeah, there's not much you can do with two people in one football.
One other thing from me, you said right at the start that you've been doing a bit of learning in your time off. Have you been learning anything in particular, or is that just more of a generic statement?
No, just generally, I'm studying an economics subject at university, so doing that, getting my head around that, and just reading a fair bit. And with the new book club, it's we've got to read books pretty quickly, so that's pretty keeping me occupied. But no, when I say learning, it's just more university, and then doing a bit of reading here and there.
Lovely. All from me. Thanks, Paul.
Crossy?
Yes, mate. Actually, you just took the one question I was going to ask you about whether you were studying exactly. But, Jake, I'm just curious about when you said about training, how long since you may or may not have had a group of 6 or 8 of you down at Unley Oval having a kick?
How long since that's happened?
Yeah. How long since you've been able to at least have that much of in terms of training?
A long time. To Daniel, since we haven't done that really ever. Since it's just been Daniel and I really down there. That's about it. So yeah, haven't done it.
Okay. When you talked about the book club in Jackson, have you actually met your new? Have you actually been able to meet face to face with your new? What's his official title?
Leadership and
leadership. Yeah.
Leadership and culture.
Yeah.
Head of leadership and culture.
Yeah. So have you actually, as a group or individually, have you been able to meet up with him, or has it all been done now through Zoom and other devices?
Yeah, so Dan met with everyone, met the whole group, obviously, prior to going into isolation. Since then, he's contacted, I believe, everyone via Zoom and had a consultation with them, or not a consultation, but a meeting with them. And yeah, mine went for about an hour. We just chatted. So he's done that to every player, I believe, on the list, which has been great. And he's already doing some great things. The book club's a good example. I think he's going to be fantastic for this football club.
One last thing. In terms of that, you've obviously done a few seasons or a few pre-seasons. In terms of that physical contact and that, what will be generated in your mini pre-season, how long do you think it will take before that initial soreness and that initial, the impact of physical contact before you get used to playing again?
No, not long. That running program, the running program we've got at the moment is going to hold us in really good stead. So when we get back to the 3-week block, we'll do body work and structural stuff, I believe. And then if you said to me we're playing in 2 weeks, I would say that's fine as well. I don't think it's going to take us long because the fitness is all there. The fitness is going to stay with this program we've got at the moment. So it's really just nailing that structure stuff again. And getting all that right, and then just as I said, getting that body contact, because that's something we haven't been able to do. That'll take a number of weeks, and I know that we'll be ready to go after 3 weeks. That's plenty of time.
Cheers. Thanks.
All good, boys?
Do you mind if I jump in with one more, Bull?
Absolutely.
Thanks, brother. Is it fair to say that the guys have come back from interstate in staggered sort of trips? Obviously, Benny Crocker was still in Melbourne, and Easy and Ben Keys arrived back recently. Have guys arrived earlier and will therefore finish their quarantine period before some others?
No, I believe everyone was back. As far as I'm concerned, I've shot off a few texts, but I haven't spoken in depth to everyone. But I believe that everyone was back by Sunday or Monday. So I think they'll all be finished within 24 hours of each other.